Welcome back to Mr. Gard's maths class. Today we're going to be looking at volume of prisms and cylinders and how to work them out. But first of all, you'll see over on the left I've got some key words that you're going to need to know. Prism, cylinder, pie, and extruded. The final one, extruded, means a 2D shape that's been stretched out and made 3D. The crux of this lesson is that to determine the volume of one of these prisms or cylinder, a cylinder, by the way, is a prism as well, just that it's a circle that's been extruded. But the main formula that you're going to need to know today is this one. Volume is equal to the area of the side being extruded multiplied by the height or multiplied by the length. Now, if we have a look at this very first shape, the one in green, it's currently a square that's been divided up into smaller squares. Now, for this scenario, let's just say they're centimeters. So it's 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters. Now, we know that the area of that square is 3 times 3, or 9 square centimeters, or centimeters squared. Now, if I was to extrude that shape, what I mean by that is by turning it into a 3D object, something similar to that. By extruding this shape, I've now made it 3D. So if we assume that this is, let's say, 7 centimeters, then that means I can fit 7. Okay, I might change that just because, let's make it 6. I'm going to put in, now what we've got is we've kind of made this shape out of a whole bunch of little cubes. You can kind of think of that, those little 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter cubes that you might have used when you were younger. Now what we've got are a whole heap, if I colour them in, groups of 9 cubes. Now remember that the area of the first row was 9 centimeters squared. Now you might start getting the idea of what I'm drawing here, but I'm kind of colouring in sets of 9 little cubes. How many in total do I have? Well, I've got 6 lots of these 9 cubes because the depth of this shape is 6 centimeters deep. So what my formula is volume equals, let's call it length times width for that front side, multiplied by, we could call it height or depth. Sometimes we like to refer to it as. Now, as I mentioned before, we have 6 lots of those 9 cubes. So our volume is 3 times 3 times the depth, 6, which equals 54 centimeters cubed. Now we write it as cubed because we're talking about volume. It's 3D, it's centimeters by centimeters by centimeters, which is why it's called centimeters cubed, the little 3 at the top, as opposed to centimeters squared when we were talking about area previously. I'm going to give you a few examples. So if we first look at the red one down in the bottom left, the side that we're going to be extruding is a red rectangle, like so. As you can see, the dimensions of that rectangle are 2 and 4. Therefore, without much thinking, we know that the area of that side to be extruded is going to be 8 centimeters squared. And we can see that with 8 little squares. Now, if I was to extrude this shape, rather than do what I did before and draw all of those squares in, if that's 7, the formula for this shape is the volume equals as we saw up in the top right, the area of the side to be extruded, which is 8, or let's just call it length times width, times the depth, which is this number. So the volume is 2 times 4, which will be our 8, times 7. Volume equals 56 centimeters cubed. The next example follows the same principles. It's going to be like a tin can, like so. So we've got a circle, and based on our information, we need to determine the area of that circle first and multiply it by its length or its height. So, as you might remember from a previous lesson, the area of the circle can be determined as pi r squared, or pi times r squared. That will give us this value, the area of the front of the circle. Volume equals pi r squared multiplied by the height. So volume equals pi times r squared, and r squared in this case is 2. So 2 squared is going to be 4. Multiplied by the height, and we haven't actually recorded that in here, but let's say it's 5, like so. We complete our formula. Pi times 4 times 5, volume equals pi multiplied by 20, and pi multiplied by 20, 62.83. And that's going to just 2 decimal places. So, just like before, you determine the area of the side that is going to be extruded. So in that case, it was the circle, and then we multiply it by its length. We'll do one more example, this time in yellow. I've got a trapezium in this situation. We need to first work out the area of this trapezium. So referring back to our formula from the other day, the volume is going to be the area of this trapezium. So A plus B divided by 2. All of that is multiplied by the height. And then to work out the volume of the shape, we need to multiply it by, we can call it either the height or depth in this case, just because we're already using a height value out of the trapezium. So if we put in all of our numbers, we have 3 plus 6 divided by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 10. Volume equals, this little part will be 4.5, 9 divided by 2, times 2 times 10. Volume equals 9 times 10. The volume is equal to 90 centimeters cubed. So the crux of today's lesson, when determining the volume of a prism or a cylinder, always work out the area of the side to be extruded and then multiply it by how far it's been extruded, or its length. Hopefully that has made plenty of sense to you, and I will speak to you in the next lesson.